Rotator cuff and shoulder issues. As we bring the arm up, you can see that the spine and the shoulder blade kind of help that motion out a lot. One thing we're trying to do here, kind of pin that shoulder blade down, because there's a couple different shoulder joints here. That kind of decreases that motion, but it isolates it more to what we call the glenohumeral joint, which is this guy. That has a lot to do with the rotator cuff's job. So here the rotator cuff's not really working that much. But if you hear it kind of stimulating that stretch a little deeper, so you feel that a little bit more there in the front. That's one idea we're trying to get with foundation training, is we're activating a muscle called the serratus anterior, which attaches right where my thumb is here. And it pulls the shoulder blade wide. And that gets us that big, broad chest and rib cage running through these types of motions. So I want you to try a bit of an overhead press, just push through my resistance. And then the opposite, kind of lat pull down. A little harder than it should be, right? Push up. And that's some of that tension we're getting in foundation training that you should be feeling. Pull down by keeping your spine and your shoulder blades locked, forcing that isolated shoulder motion. And crunch in there. Good. Put that down. It's a little sweaty, but actually really loosen up this side. Now you can feel the difference. That was the tighter side before. So let's run through that again. Let me run through the motions here. Because there is kind of a pseudo joint, we call it here, between the thoracic ribs and the scapula that adds a lot of motion. So a lot of times we're pulling from that, so a lot of people like squeeze their shoulder blades, but what really happens is we're not actually using the glenohumeral joint to externally rotate like it should. So sometimes a lot of patients that are really flat through here, but still the shoulders are really turned in. Because they're pulling back from the spine instead of actually training the shoulder like they should be. So here at Ridgeline Fitness, that's the goal, is to try to encourage proper motion, or using those inhibited muscles, we call them, the muscles that are just kind of locked down because everything else is so tight. So give me a lat pull down. So right here, he's using muscles that he's not really used to using. I'm forcing him to use them that way. It's hard to talk when I'm pulling on someone's arm. Pull down. And up. Try with some breathing too. Exhale. Good. Pull down. Alright, good. I'll rest that there. Another big muscle here is the trapezius. Comes up to the skull. You can kind of compress the neck. And it pulls the shoulders up. So then they're not in the socket like they should be. And we have the same kind of phenomenon going in the hips too. Even people that are really loose can be really restricted in these ball socket joints themselves, but they have so much motion here and in the shoulder blades that they feel very mobile, but they still get a lot of pain and stiffness. They're like, what's going on? I'm doing all this yoga and all this stuff. But it's a bit of working smarter, not harder. Thinking about what you're stretching and not just forcing the stretch. Do a little trap motion here. Like one good shoulder exercise is called the YTWA. It's like the Y motion. So if I'm not holding that shoulder blade, you see everything kind of rise up like that. Same with both sides. A lot of motion, but kind of pinching the shoulder blades in a little bit more than we'd want it. So the motion's not coming from here, it's more from that shoulder blade. So kind of pulling down, actively pulling your shoulders into the socket. Then going up, you can see it gets about there, but it's actually better stretch and better activation of those weaker muscles that are kind of locked down. Kind of activating those rotator cuff. In here. Teres minor.
Like teres minor's got something going on.
Let's see about this side. Not as tight on this side for sure. A little easier. world. Still got a rib head out here. We'll do a little adjustment on that. Just a bit of a stretch, and then reset it. Get it from the other side. So we're always going to have, most of us have a little more rounding here than we should. If we're laying on a table, shoulders, hips are forced to be level. Breath in, breathe out. Let's put him on his back. We'll work SCM, which is another muscle that works against this too. SCM, collarbone, sternum, runs up into the back of the skull here. Yeah, he's kind of more tight on that right side. So you want to be thinking about these things when you're doing your exercises. Pulling that shoulder down and back to where it should be. Then drop that right arm off the table. Turning the palm up towards the ceiling, which opens up the shoulder. Then raising it towards me. Especially banded workouts, running through that motion. Kind of locking your own shoulder down where it should be. And that's probably the major goal of the rotator cuff. It assists with motion, but its main job is to hold this femoral head in the socket. So we have 4 rotator cuff muscles. Usually subscapularis is tight, pulling the shoulder in, overpowering the others. So we get that kind of ratchety, clicking motion in the shoulder. Do a bit of a snow angel for me. Bring the arm up. That's all. Just encouraging better motion in the body, teaching people how to move. That's what we do here. Hope you like that. Hope that makes sense with foundation training. Because that goal is we're getting that chest broad, expanding that rib cage. So I'm pulling the shoulder blade out, but at the same time pulling this shoulder in. So we're not doing just that. Kind of keeping that expansion, doing the shoulder last. So then when we do moves like chair pose or the founder, we're not letting those shoulders round completely. We're keeping everything broad, and that makes those exercises kind of shaky, just like he was. He was pushing against that resistance, activating that underused stuff we got. Just a few of those a day, 100 founders a day, can really help your rotator cuff out. Only if you're doing it right, though. So think about that motion.
Welcome to day 6 of the Get Out of Pain Challenge. This is the prone press. So the first thing is you're trying to lift that pelvis up a little bit, right where the belly button is. So trying to tighten that. And this is my last set of 25, so you might notice that starts to weaken. If you got a little more love like I do, that's okay. It might be touching the ground. It's more in the intention of trying to lift that pelvis up. The whole reason behind that is you're keeping the spine relatively straight there. Think about, okay, ear, shoulder, hip, all pretty straight. We're not arching too much. If we let the pelvis drop, it ends up being a little bit more like a cobra. So it actually lifts that lower lumbar spine up, which tends to curve a little too forward in some people. So this way the whole spine lifting is 1, up off the ground. Feet are tucked in, so the quads are bearing a lot of the weight. Those are pretty tight this whole time. And mainly this is a great shoulder exercise and neck exercise. And another good way to just kind of pause and think about breathing. It's just another view for you. So trying to tuck those toes in, keeping those palms kind of towards the ground. They want to turn in a little bit as you get to the top, and that's okay. Just do your best. You can imagine like how this looks like a press when you're standing or sitting. This way, it's just forcing that spine to be a little straighter. The big thing in prone press is people come into extension to get more power, so they're bowing in the spine, and then the shoulder's not being used properly, and the spine is in a state of compression and extension. It's just being distorted. You know, to help us lift more weight. That's why bodybuilders tend to look up a little more hunched if they're focusing on that. Not so much those who do functional strength training. You'll notice that they have a different body type. They're a little bit lengthier. They don't look as compressed as some of these big beefy guys, right? Because it's not about being strong, it's about strengthening everything together, whole body active stretch. So equals strengthening to stretching. And over here you can see that rotator cuff really working. The idea here is if you're able to get those arms up really easily, you're probably not using your rotator cuff to hold that humerus in the socket. I think I thought I was too far forward. Backing up a little bit. See those muscles really straining, the deltoids really stretching. And we're having some glide of the shoulder blade, but we're trying to control that as best as we can because we don't want the shoulders to hike into the ears. Same with the last few exercises. We're trying to keep that, actually driving the shoulders down, if that makes sense. As the arm comes up, using that humerus as a lever to push the shoulder down. So you should really feel that upper trap, which attaches to the back of your skull, actually getting stretched. And then you'll feel the front of your neck really working. And those deeper scalene muscles, and also the posterior chain muscles of the spine working. So it's really tough, should be really fatiguing. Just don't go through the motions with these. You take a break, because this one's hard to get 100 in a row here. You can break this up throughout the day, however you want to do it. Okay, this is the last 25, you guys got it. Really anchor your feet. You can see maybe I'm a little crooked here, might be the camera angle. Just make sure you're straight as possible. You want that spine nice and straight. Just battle through it. Inhaling and then exhaling as you drive up. So inflating the lungs and pull your arms down, and then exhaling. And we're keeping that, stomach in the whole time, like we did the first part, because we don't want, that belly going in and out. We're trying to keep that belly tight the whole time, not, keeping that chest expanded the whole time doing this exercise. Good job, guys. One more day.